Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to Sree's daily global COVID-19 show. My name is Sree Sreenivasan, and it's my honor to gather this daily conversation with folks from around the world. We are at episode 150 in 150 days. Please share this with friends and family. Let them join us. We'll give you a chance to participate as well. Please tag your friends. They can watch live or later. We are delighted to get to episode 150, and we'll tell you all about it in just a minute. We have a couple of guests who are already with us backstage. You'll meet them in a few minutes. Sunny Slaughter is here. She is an equity advocate. We're also joined by Dr. Orrin Davis, a self-actualization engineer. They're both guests who have been here in the past. We asked some of our favorite guests to join us, to send us a message, and we are so grateful to all of them. You'll meet them in just a minute, but now please tag and share. We are so delighted to be with all of you if you're watching live or later. Hi, everybody. I'm Sree Sreenivasan. I'm the Marshall Loeb Visiting Professor of Digital Innovation at Stony Brook School of Journalism and the co-founder of Digimentors, a social, digital, and virtual events consulting company. Our motto, don't cancel your event without talking to us. Don't even start planning your virtual event without talking to us. We have run events for 50 people and 100,000 people, and we can do your event somewhere in between. Please get in touch. You see my email right there, sree@sree.net. 150 days, folks. I can't believe it myself. 5 months. We've been here for 5 months, every single day, not a single vacation day, not a single day off. And it's only possible because of the amazing work of our wonderful producers, Vandana Menon and Rose Horowitz. Rose Horowitz is at Rose Horowitz 31 and Vandana is at Vandana_Menon. They will both be with us in a few minutes to chat. So please stay tuned for that. And please thank them and follow them on Twitter. We're always looking for guest ideas. We have sponsorship ideas, theme ideas. Please email me, sree@sree.net. In the first 140 shows, so that means we need to update this card, we've had more than 1 million viewers, 100 million social impressions, 260 guests, 148 of them women. We want to up that ratio, 53 cities, 15 countries, and we've all even had the chief scientist of the World Health Organization. And we're all in partnership with Scroll.in, and we are so grateful to them for broadcasting us live on all their channels. Our archives are on youtube.com/Sreenet, youtube.com/Sreenet. I have to pay some bills before we bring on our guests, but please find me right now on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, and on LinkedIn. We are live. Tag your friends. 150 episodes. Please comment. Tell us where you're watching from. Tell us about your favorite guests, any moment you remember from this, any of my bloopers, anything you remember, we'd love to hear. 150 days is 5 months of talking about 3 topics. We've talked about the health crisis, the financial crisis, and the racial inequality crisis. Thank you all for your support that has made this possible. Also, to our sponsors, including Muckrack Academy, Fundamentals of Social Media, a free certification course now available. Please join us, mrac.co/social, mrac.co/social. More than 4,000 people have taken that course, and you should too, and you will learn just as much as I did putting it together. We're also grateful to nunbelievable.com, divinely delicious cookies on a mission. Each handcrafted cookie provides a meal for those in need. Please shop right now, nunbelievable.com. Use the 20% off code SREE, SREE. You get 20% off. And we want to thank our friends at She's on Call, a new show that we executive produce Sundays at 11 a.m. This Sunday, you'll meet Dr. Judith Chusid, who is a psychologist, and Carmen Simmons, a fourth-year medical student. Our hosts are Dr. Sujana Chandrasekhar and Marina Kurian, and they have been a guest on this show multiple times. And we have one more show to tell you about, and that is my Sunday New York Times read-along Every Sunday, 8:30 a.m., we read the Sunday New York Times, the print edition on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn, sort of like crazy people. We've been doing it for 5 years. Elaine Sciolino is our next guest, the former Paris bureau chief of the New York Times. She's based in France since 2002. I know many of us would love to have that kind of job. We're also grateful for the promotional consideration provided by
Hotstar Premiere Nights. Watch the year's biggest blockbuster streaming straight to your screen, exclusively on Hotstar.
Many thanks to our friends at hotstar.com/US. This is episode 150, and I have waiting backstage and ready to join us 2 amazing former guests. And we want you to tag your friends so that they can join us and talk about our 150 episodes. But more importantly, what have the last 5 months been like for you? And what are the next 5 months going to look like? We're going to find out. We're going to hear your thoughts. And let me bring on stage my friends, Dr. Oren Davis and Sunny Slaughter. Hello.
Hi. How are you?
It feels like 5 years, but 5 months. My first question.
It's incredible.
Yeah. My question to both of you first is always, how are you? Where are you? How are you handling the pandemic? What have you been up to? Let's start with Sunny, and then we'll go to Oren.
Oh, hi, Sree. Thanks for having me back. So I am in the DC area. It's been 5 amazing and interesting months, from crisis to chaos to courage, courageous conversations across the world. I have been having some really wonderful conversations with amazing women, and actually all is well. Everyone is still alive. My son recovered from COVID-19, and I have a lot of things on the horizon. So even with the crisis and the pandemic and all that's happened, I am grateful to be here, and even more grateful to be back. You know, it's been 1 year this month on the 18th that I did my first episode with the 1619 Project. So I am humbled, my friend.
Thank you. You're incredible. I love your t-shirt. We got to show it to everybody.
Oh, yes. And if you don't know, I am the master connector, and they call me the Olivia Pope of Crime, and I am representing Black women everywhere. We got it. It's handled.
It's handled. Black women everywhere. And
Yes.
I know you have it handled. We are so grateful to you for being here, for being who you are, for supporting us in every single way. And we will talk more about that in just a few minutes. Let's go to Oren. Dr. Oren Davis, you have a chair for me right there, I see.
Yes, yes, it's actually the chair I was sitting in last time, but figured I'd switch it up a little bit. It's been quite a roller coaster. It feels like I've been doing a lot of seat switching anyway, but it's been an interesting time. Some ups, some downs, research, writing, consulting, lecturing, and gearing up now for the fall. The fall semester starts at the end of the month, so going to be teaching creativity courses, and very excited about it.
And one of the things that I remember from your appearance, yes, you were in that chair. You looked very comfortable. This was very early in the pandemic. And you suggested, why don't you come on and talk about positivity? And I was like, why would we have someone talk about positivity when things are so bad? And what I realized is that we needed that we have to get up on Monday mornings and go to work, whether it's in the office, at home or out on the streets. And you started something very special. I don't know if you know this, but every Sunday since, we have had a positivity show, and we've had some amazing people. And I always credit you for coming on here. And first of all, just suggesting in the early days of the pandemic that we had anything to be positive about. And we have purposeful, positive people every single Sunday since. So I'm
so glad of that.
So let's ask Sunny a question while people are telling us where they're watching from and their comments. Sunny, tell me about these months in terms of connecting what has happened with the health situation and where we are as Americans with that, the financial crisis, and the racial inequality, the fight for that. Connect that all for us because you do that so well.
Sure. Thanks, Sree. So, the murder of George Floyd really set off um, an unrest all across America, and even more when Black people realize we are tired of having this conversation over and over and over again. And as Black communities and Black people and populations all across the world have already been impacted financially, emotionally, socially, and in every way that you can think of, the health disparities. COVID-19 really showed us where we were, the crisis that we were already in. Even though we had been talking about it for years, it really amplified it for America. It really showed that we were not making this up, that when we say that there is a race issue, there really is a race issue. And the murder of George Floyd brought people, not just Black people, but people from all races, all cultures, all backgrounds, all financial aspects and walks of life together to say, you know what, Black lives do matter. They have always mattered, but we haven't acted like they have mattered. And now is the time to change the conversation. So I have been having international conversations, and particularly with women, we have been having courageous conversations around race, racism, and anti-racism, and how things need to change, how women can be leaders and cultivators of courageous conversations, and how women can change aspects and the dynamics in the workplace. And more importantly, we have seen this work and these movements supported by men of different faiths and cultures and races saying, you know what, it's time to get ourselves together. However, we have also seen companies and organizations, and right before the show came on, I was watching the women of the WNBA talking about what they were doing in their shirts for Breonna Taylor, saying, say her name. There has been no justice in her particular case. But we have seen corporations and organizations write statements. Unfortunately, those statements are not enough until we have some accountability, and that accountability looks like equity in social justice, equity in pay, equity in how we treat people of color, how we treat and operate with Black people in the workplace, and really some serious dialogue. The diversity and inclusion dialogue is no longer enough. We want to have dialogue, and we have to say the word race. We have to talk about race. This is not a comfortable conversation. We've been uncomfortable as Black people for a very long time. Now it is time for everyone else to get uncomfortable, to say the word, to recognize where the gaps are. And it's time to do the real work that has been long overdue. We are talking about there have been more than 400 years of smoke, and nobody thought that there was going to be a fire. Well, now this is the fire, and we have to make change. Right here are two books that I have been reading, and both of them are really great. I think everyone should take the opportunity to order them. Read for understanding, not just read. The other book here, How to Be Anti-Racist. There's some work that I have been doing around this topic, but I told people before we can get to how to be anti-racist, we're going to have to talk about race and racism. We're not going to just jump the gun. While we want to have solutions, we have to define the issue. We have to recognize that there's a problem, and we have to address it, and we have to do it now.
Thank you so much. I want to just read those titles again. The book is by Ibrahim X. Kendi, is How to Be an Anti-Racist. And the other one is by Eddie, I think it's pronounced Glaude Jr.
Glaude, yes.
Glaude Jr. He's a professor, I think, at Princeton. You see him
Princeton,
on TV all the time. And Begin Again. So those are great. Hold on, just hold them up and I'll take a picture so that everybody can have it. That looks perfect. We can't see you, so let's hold it. Oh, no, the other way. There you go. Perfect. I'm just going to take a picture. And you know Rose is taking a picture too. So
I know.
That's great. Thank you very much. And we have so much to talk about with Stony,
Yes.
including that flag behind her that we will talk about in a few minutes. So let me ask Oren about all of this that's been going on. What is your take, and what do you tell your students, and what do you tell the people that you counsel?
So the first thing I tell them is that as much as it is a difficult situation and there's a lot of really nasty stuff going on at the same time, I've also been seeing people stepping up at unprecedented levels. And I think that, as much as where there's smoke, there's fire. Where there's fire, there's also people with hoses and fire extinguishers. And I think now more than ever, I'm old enough to have remembered some of the past atrocities that the Black community has dealt with. And things like the Amadou Diallo shooting, some of the other things in the past, and this time, I think we're seeing far more people stepping up and saying, this can never happen again. This is no longer acceptable, and I think that's a great thing. Working, myself in diversity, equity, and inclusion, I'm seeing far more companies really taking action. Some of them are just writing statements, and I agree with Stony, that's not enough. But some of them really are taking steps, and I'm seeing this in conversations in the field and in many of the channels that I'm part of. At these conversations, sometimes the uncomfortable conversations are really actually getting going. And some of the clients that I work with have also been asking me to facilitate some of the really uncomfortable conversations, talking about some of the myths, talking about some of the challenges, talking about how we actually get equity and inclusion and a diverse group of people together. And sometimes that can actually be much more of a challenge because people miss, and it's important to get, that one of the drawbacks to diversity is that it can be harder to get consensus. When you have so many different people with so many different viewpoints, you need to be able to have the uncomfortable conversations or people can't move forward. You can't get the consensus to move forward. And so, Stony, I've been hearing about your work. I've actually never met you, but I'm grateful for this opportunity to do so, because it sounds like you're one of those people that's, going to all the different parties, all the different groups, and you're actually helping them to get this crosstalk going, the understanding, the agreement. We need so many more people doing that, so bless you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for the work that you're doing. And you're right. We have to move forward with, thank goodness for we, the people who are the hose bearers, to put out these fires and having these conversations. And I too have been sitting in different rooms, belonging with Rhodes Perry. It's a wonderful community to support. And recently, Dr. Janetta Cole and a group of amazing diversity and equity and inclusion individuals. Dr. Cole was just on CNN. I think it was either Friday or may have been Thursday. And she was releasing the letter called IDEA. And IDEA is inclusion, diversity, equity, and accessibility. And these diversity leaders have all signed on to the 7 priorities that must happen, some of which you just discussed there. So I think we are headed in the right direction. We just have to make sure that we are focused in the direction. And I like the work that you're doing about having conversations and really navigating those conversations and leading them in a very intentional way. I mean, I'm a little excited here, but we don't have to.
I think we both are, because it's something that we're both very passionate about, and both of us, I think, have experienced some difficult challenges. I've had to do a lot with anti-Semitism in my life, and it's and those challenges have definitely made a change out of me, whether I wanted them to or not.
And look at the diversity here.
You folks are having. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying, look at the diversity right here, Sree, with the 3 of us. And look, I'm glad I'm in the middle.
Yes, we like having you there. I just wanted to say that you were having such a good conversation. I was just sitting back and listening, and that was really, really special. Let's tell everyone how they can find each of you. I want you to stay, but I want also people to just hear how they can find you. Oren, tell us a little bit about your work specifically so that people can follow up with you as well.
Sure. I run the Quality of Life Laboratory. That's www.qllab.org. So qllab.org. And I wear actually a bunch of different hats. Besides being a professor of creativity, entrepreneurship, organizational behavior, HR, I also do consulting in companies. I help with hiring strategies, diversity, equity, inclusion, and also employee engagement. And I help companies navigate all those things. So I do workshops, I do consulting, and in addition to that, I do give lectures, talks, things along those lines. And then my research is mostly on creativity and flow, if you're familiar with the idea of getting in the zone, as some people call it colloquially, but I actually do research on flow. Some work on mentoring and hypnosis, but that's fading more. Been a hypnotist most of my life, and I enjoy it. But I don't have the time to do research
do
on
it
it
to me.
anymore.
I know, right?
Actually, the funny thing about hypnosis that a lot of people miss is that the point of hypnosis is really empowering people. And I actually love, I forget who originally taught me this rule, but I think it's the most important rule of hypnosis to understand, is all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. The transitive verb hypnotize is really a misnomer. I don't hypnotize people. I actually can't. What I do is I help them do it for themselves. And because I've got more experience, I've seen more of it, I'm a much better guide than somebody who's not a quote unquote hypnotist, and I think of it that way, and hypnotists are trained that way, and I think that's a better way to conceive of it. Wow. So the rest of the work I do is writing. I have a blog on Medium, also Dr. Oren Davis, and on Twitter at Dr. Oren Davis.
You are so busy, and I love that all the work you're doing is to help people. The Quality of Life Lab, everyone should check that out, qllab.org. And connect with Oren at Dr. Oren Davis. Let's go to Sunny Slaughter.
Hi. So I am all things Sunny Slaughter on Twitter, on Facebook. I have a personal Facebook page, a business page, and I'm on LinkedIn. And so everyone can find me there. Also, my website is sunnyslaughter.com. And I am an equity strategist, a DE&I person. I am also a federally certified law enforcement instructor, trained by the Department of Homeland Security. I have training in hate and bias crimes, domestic and sexual violence, human trafficking. I'm a nationally and internationally recognized expert on human trafficking crimes, drug task force supervisor. But all of my work is grounded in public health. So one of the things that I want to make sure that I get in before we leave is that a mask is not a political statement. A mask saves lives, and that we should all be wearing them and keep everyone safe, if not ourselves, those that we come in contact with. So my work is at the intersection of vulnerability, because I'm a vulnerability expert, talking about public health and those intersectional issues that impact vulnerable populations. And it is really important that we stay safe, not just for ourselves, but for others. My son had COVID-19. He has thankfully recovered, but until you can't breathe, you don't understand what it's like not to have breath.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, and I'm glad your son is okay now. One of the things that we've had, as some of you know, I have a spin-off radio show, a call-in show on WBAI 99.5 FM here and globally on WBAI.org. We call it COVID-19, a helpful, hopeful call-in show. We've been doing it for 5 months as well. But on that show, the extreme left and extreme right call in and say it's a hoax, say vaccines are bad, say Bill Gates is out there trying to put chips in everybody. That happened today.
No,
So and what they don't understand is that they think that young people will not be affected. Young people can easily get through this. We had a doctor on our show who runs a rehab center in San Antonio, and she said that she has patients from 20s to 70s who have to learn how to eat again, breathe again, walk again, talk again because of COVID-19. So it isn't an old people's disease. Please follow the rules. Please think about this, that when we started, we would never have imagined that we would be in a worse situation nationwide 5 months later than we were when we started. And that's the most depressing part of this, that we have ended up just like this. I do want Sunny to tell us the story, the beautiful story of the flag behind her. She told us the story last time. Please tell us about it, and then we're going to do our global tour of everyone who's here.
Thank you. So when I was young, before I was born, my uncle, Jonathan, Corporal Lance Corporal Jonathan E. Sykes was a Marine, and he was in Vietnam. My grandfather worked the teletype in Philadelphia at the shipyard, and he stepped out to get coffee. And when he came back, the name that came across the teletype was his own son, my uncle. My name is Sonetta, and my uncle named me. It made the newspaper. My uncle saved a lot of lives before he died. As an adult, I did not know the full story. It wasn't anything that my family talked about. But when I Googled for my uncle, because his name is on the wall in Washington, D.C., we are a Gold Star family. So this is a real flag that covered the casket of a Marine. He was brave, he was strong. And even though I did not get to meet him, he and my mother were so close, and my mother was pregnant with me at the time. And it was very painful for her to lose her brother and then to try and give birth to her child. So I honor him. I I kept the flag for so many years. It was passed down from my grandmother it would have gone to my mother, but my mother died 22 years ago. She died 2 days after her 49th birthday. So the flag has come straight to me. Um, it's amazing that those things are still difficult all of these years later to hear and to know that someone so close, so young, and he actually had come home and decided to go back on another tour when he didn't have to. I come from a family that serves. My grandfather, my uncle that I just talked about, my another uncle was murdered in the Navy in California. I have an uncle in the Air Force. We have family that serve then and now in all of the armed forces, and I would take a knee because although they have served, Black people all across this world have been ostracized, demonized, and discarded for their service because of their skin. So I honor my uncle with my activism. I honor my mother with my activism. I honor them with my words, and I honor my family in all that I do. And I am committed to community and to saving lives, because that's what my uncle did. He saved lives before he lost his own. He was decapitated. And I did not know that story until a man who had lost his eye that served with him called me years later to tell me the story.
Wow, what a story. I've heard it before, but imagine being out at work and your job is to man the teletype machine, and the name that comes over is your own son. And he named you before you were born. And there's Sonny, the living embodiment of that man who died saving his brethren. What
Yes.
I want to hear from you, Sonny, is something you said to me that I'll never forget. You said at the beginning of this crisis, when the George Floyd stuff happened and the uprisings and the demand for justice, you said, don't call your Black friends and say, what can you do? Ask them, what have you been doing all this time?
Yeah. And that is, from the time that I said that to you, I have connected with so many people, and they say, Sonny, well, what can I do? Well, what can I say? And well, what are you asking me for? What have you been doing? And that is, it's not in anger that I ask that. It is in truth that I ask that. Really, what have you been doing? Before we can talk about others, and this includes Black people, we really have to take an inner look. The cultural humility work that I do requires you not to look on the outside first, but really to do the work on the inside first. What have you been doing? I am a person that lives a life of diversity. So this is not unusual for me. I have friends prior to this of every race, not just in my family. They say, oh, well, how many Black friends do you have? That's one question. And how many Black friends do you have? Not people that you know. How many Black friends do you have? Not people that you work with. That's always a question. How many white friends do you have? How many Indian friends, Asian friends? How many friends or people that you call family do you have? Do you know? And don't ask them either. Well, what can I do? Do your homework. We can't read our way out of this, but we do have to, as my good friend Jackie said on one of our calls, Jackie is in, I think, Singapore. Jackie said we have to learn, unlearn, and I think it was relearn. So that's something that they say in diversity. We have to do all of those things, but we all have to do the work. And I think Dr. Orrin Davis, he knows what I mean. We all have to do the work.
Yeah, and it never stops. Even for folks, people sometimes say, like, as diversity consultants, oh, you guys must know the score, and it's like, we're still working. We're still working on it. Like, and part of that is, maybe because we know the score, maybe we just know how much more we have to do.
Yeah. And we have to keep going around, and I'm sure, do you find that every environment, I've been asked to do some work and train law enforcement, and I wrote a 9 points priority for reframing police culture. I said, now, that's hard, right? I was in my drug task force supervisor class. I was the only female, the only Black person, and the only one without arrest powers in a class of 32 white men.
Wow.
And I had to make sure that I knew my stuff. Now, when I walked in, it was a little intimidated, not because they were threatening me, but because I had to bring my game with what I knew. Oh, I handled it. See, the shirt.
No question.
Yeah, I handled it, and I wound up being the commander for our final exercise. But I think you kind of get what I'm saying. We have to keep doing this over.
And it takes a lot of thought. And, just looking at yourself and looking at your own biases and unpacking those and realizing how much you've accumulated over the years. Mm-hmm. And then as you're talking to other people, you very much discover more about yourself. It takes a lot of self-acceptance to recognize that, I've missed a lot of stuff, and I've done things that, were not the best moves. I've said things that were not the best moves. And now I've got to move forward from that, learn from those mistakes, and move forward again and again. And that's something that, every single one of us, of every race, color, and creed is having to do now.
Right. And we have to give those, and in the workplace, I know it can be difficult sometimes, but and the reality is we do have to give people some grace. We have to give them a measure of grace when they are genuinely trying. We have to call them for the accountability, but those who are genuinely trying, we have to give them some grace, because they'll make mistakes. We'll make mistakes along the way.
Yeah. And I think that there's even a way of, being graceful in how we hold people accountable. I think we need to see more of that. I think we all need to recognize our own potential fallibility in that. And the fact that, no matter who you are, you've said things, you've done things, you've been thoughtless, and sometimes things come to mind. You don't quite realize the implications of them. I mean, we misspeak. Human beings, we misspeak all the time, and so having that compassion both for ourselves and for other people, and to be able to do that, and also to assume the best, because and I think that even people, when they're being malicious, if we treat them as though they mean well, I think that and certainly my own experiences in life, maybe not necessarily with DEI, but in other cases where I may have misspoken or done something that was not the most thought out thing. I think that when people have been graceful to me and treated me as though I meant well, I found that was the best opportunity for me to learn, because it was a vote of confidence from someone that otherwise might have had the opportunity to think the less of me. Instead,
right.
They gave me the vote of confidence. They, as if I could rise above that, as if I could be better than I was. And this is an idea that's been communicated in a lot of ways, including by Goethe, and then by many other scholars. And they pointed out that if you treat people as they could be instead of as they are, that they'll actually rise up in that general direction.
And having these conversations can be really difficult because, okay, so on one hand I'm talking about public health, the other hand I'm the law enforcement instructor, and then I'm criticizing law enforcement and calling people out. I call people out about race, and I do it very loudly. And I said, but you do know me, right? So you do know who I am. I bring my authentic self to the table every day in every space. And I'm good. I'm quick to apologize if I'm wrong, but I'm quick to say, no, I'm not going to be able to let you get away with that now. No, you're going to have to reel it back in, because I want people. We all need grace, but we can't keep going in the same direction. But I always tell people, don't think I'm racist, because I remind some of my friends and family members who are white or who are other. I said, so I'm going to say this like out loud, right? So I'm going to talk about white people if they're wrong, right? And I say, and if I catch you and you're wrong, I'm talking about you too. But then I tell black people, oh, you're not getting away with that either. So I will call anyone out if I think so. And then I'm like, okay, but this is just me saying it out loud. But
And
I
we
give
know
you some
why
grace.
too, and that's the thing, is that when you're calling people out, you're not doing it to make the gotcha.
No.
And I think that when people know that about you also, that when you're not there to gotcha them, when you're there to make things better for them, when you're there to give them that vote of confidence, like, I'm calling you out because you are better than that, not because I want to nail you, but because you're better. And
Right.
I believe in you. And I mean, that when we can see the call out as a vote of confidence, and especially when we can portray the call out as a vote of confidence, and I think that does a lot for people.
Yeah, it does.
I feel like I'm in that chair behind Oren, just lying back and listening to a great conversation, two great experts talking and sharing. And Sunny's so modest. She didn't mention that she was named by one of the magazines as one of the leading businesswomen in Washington, D.C., in the metro area. So that's just one of her many, many feathers in her cap. You're also meeting two overachievers, super busy people. Here they are on a Saturday night, helping us by sharing and being with us. I'm going to ask them to stay for a couple more minutes as we go through our list of people watching from around the world. We have to start with Jonathan Borstein, who's here for 150 straight episodes. My family hasn't been able to do that, though they've tried, but Jonathan has done this. I've not been able to do it, though I've been here. I've tuned out more than he has tuned out. And so I'm so grateful to you, Jonathan. You were a guest on our 100th show, and you've been our friend for so long. And let me say hi to my mom, who's watching from Kerala in India. Hi, Amma. Love you very much. The word Monu that you see there means son, and Amma is, of course, mom, our mother in Malayalam, and very, very proud of her and all she has done. Sheena says, if time permits, could the panel speak on anti-racism? We had a little bit of that, but let's have Oren talk about anti-Semitism, and then we'll have Sunny talk about anti-racism, and then we'll let them go so our next guest can come in as well. Yeah. So go ahead, Oren.
So I think that a lot of this, the Jewish community has always been dealing with anti-Semitism, I think, pretty much for as long as we've existed. And I mean, that's always been a challenge, but I think more than anything else is just recognizing that we, like everybody else in the world, we're human beings, and to recognize that the things that make us different are, they're choices we make, but we respect people. We would hope that people would respect us, and to see our humanity, not to see us as other, but that just because, people practice religions, some people don't practice religion, some people believe in God, some people don't. Some people have traditions of a religious sort, or of a cultural sort, of a national sort. We have our traditions, and they really don't impact other people. There are traditions, we live our lives according to that. Everybody's got their own traditions and rituals. We would hope that people could recognize that. And I think that, when we talk about anti-Semitism, I'm not sure that that's so different from any form of anti-racism, just to say that we respect the humanity of all people, and that we respect the fact that each person seeks their own good and should not be doing it at the expense of anyone else, and that we would want the best for other people as we would want them to want the best for us, and really to do our best for other people as we would hope they would do for us.
And over to Sunny.
So I wanted to take the time to read something from Dr. Kendi in his book. It says, the only way to undo racism is to consistently identify and describe it and then dismantle it. So anti-racism is really about understanding how race and racism really impacts people on so many levels. So it's like when you see something, say something. And anti-racism is a transformative concept, he says, that reiterates and re-energizes the conversation about racism, and even more fundamentally points us towards liberating new ways of thinking about ourselves and others. So this, just as Dr. Orwin Davis just said, really, when you think about the things and the words and how you look at someone, the very first thing that someone sees about me, even before they notice that I'm a woman, is they see my skin. Most often we identify people and we stereotype them when we see them. But what about if we just looked at them as human beings and we treated them with the respect and dignity that they deserve on the outside, how we should be, all of us, on the inside? And I hope that answers the question.
It really does. Before you go, and before we bring in other people, a couple of things, folks. We are collecting your video comments. You can see the address on the bottom of the screen there. It says flipgrid.com/Sree Show. Please send in your videos, and we'll play them at 10:30. Several people have already done that. And I want to show everybody one of the most touching things that happened in years, and certainly this year, was on Father's Day when our friend Sunny Slaughter did this. She took out an ad in something fun we were doing and said, "My five brothers, Ahmad, Ward, Sree, Martin Weinberg, Neil Parekh, and Ron Thomas, thank you for being of men, courage, character, men of courage, character, and dignity." And I was so moved by that, and I was so surprised by that. It was on the air when I saw it. I've never forgotten it, Sunny, and I will never forget it. It was one of the most beautiful things ever happened in my life, and I'm so grateful to you.
Oh gosh, I love those five guys on that photo there. I adore that. But Sree, really quick, I just want to say to you, congratulations. 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 It is my humble honor to be connected to you, to be with you and the entire team, and how you have stood up, not just the 1619 project and the early mornings that we do with the New York Times read along, but this show and the She's on Call women. I share all of those with my lady docs. And Liffy, you have had the most profound guests in the world. So, I feel kind of famous, right? I'm here on the show with Dr. Orrin Davis, and then we have Rose and our producers in the back. Who knew that in 1 year's time you would be doing this? Well, I kind of suspected, but congratulations. Congratulations, all of you. I'm grateful to you. I love you all. Thank you for always giving me the shout out, support, and love. Rose, I met your husband. So now I told him, I said, so we're family, right? But thank you, Sree. You have done what in times of chaos and crisis, you have more than delivered. And you are not a Black man, but you talk about Black issues and racism more than anyone that I know, and you do it courageously. And for that, all of America, all of the world should be proud, because that's a hard topic to step into and to really daily push all of the issues around race, crisis, courage, COVID. Rose, Vandana, you guys, the whole team. I just had to say that. I'm so humbled to be a part of everything that you all do. Nowhere, anywhere like it.
Thank you. I know we are only able to do it because of the love of folks like you. And Vandana and Rose, I wanted you to hear it. You were going to come on afterwards, but I wanted you to hear as
I'm
she was
sorry.
speaking.
Thank you, Sonny. That's so touching. I just can't believe you said that. It's great. Thank you.
No, it's true. It's really. I mean, who the heck? I mean, you started out 5 years later, and look at this. Like you're like all famous, got all these people. So I feel famous when they. I'm like, do you see who he's got on the show? I was on there too. I love you guys. Okay, it's time to go.
All right, thank you. I want Oren to also be able to say goodbye. Thank you so much to both of you. Oren, go ahead.
Sree, thank you so much. It was an honor to be on one of the earlier shows. It's very much an honor to be on the 150th show. Hearty congratulations, and I have been watching your work for quite a while now. I'm very much a fan. I love the stuff that you've been doing, and I agree with Sonny that you have had amazing courage, and you've been willing to put out there a lot of issues and raise a lot of issues in your emails, on your shows. Raising awareness on so many things. I'm honored to have been part of it, and I hope I'll get to join you again and to meet such incredible people. And especially after having been a fan of yours so long, it's great to be here. So congratulations on 150. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Congratulations, it's a party. Bye-bye.
I have to meet you, Sonny, sometime, somewhere.
Wow, that was amazing, and I wanted to bring on our two awesome producers, Rose Horowitz at Rose Horowitz 31, Vandana Menon, Vandana_Menon. I wanted you to hear what you have helped unleash onto the world. When you answered the call 150 days ago, you had no idea that we'd still be here 150 days later, and how much work it would be, so much work to put this together. Some people think this is our main job. People congratulate me on my amazing work because they think this is my job, and people don't realize this is not our job. We're doing it almost as a labor of love. Obviously, there are sponsors and some money comes in, but this is really because we care about these topics. So let's have each of you talk a little bit about this experience, what it's been like. We've got all these people waiting to share their comments as well. So Rose, we'll start with you, and then we'll go to Vandana. Okay.
I guess I'm not sure what to say because it's been quite a ride, and we didn't know where we were headed because we really started out with the health crisis of the corona, although we were always aware of racial and gender issues. So we were always trying to get a balance among our guests, and that sometimes made we did 10 more phone calls so we can do that. But we've been able to, I think, share, I knew Sree, I didn't know Vandana, but I really loved getting to know her, and we've worked well together, and we are always pursuing what's related to the news, and that's really been great. And it's great to see that we've built our I think our audience, and that we've been for some people, they really look forward to the show. So thank you.
Yeah, same here. I mean, I've learned so much from both you and Sree, and it's been such an amazing learning experience. I was just thinking actually that the conversation that Sonny and Oren were having just now is such a good example of what the show has been like. Like, there's been so much unlearning, relearning, so much positivity, and it's been amazing. It's been amazing to be able to be part of a platform that puts these thoughts out there into the world. So it's been great. And 150 days just went by. We were scrolling through all of the guests the other day, and it just went by.
It really flew by, and I wanted to give you both the spotlight there for a minute so that people can see that it's one thing to be in front of the camera. It's all the work behind the scenes, and these two ladies are just incredible. And we did all this during the pandemic. We didn't sit down. Not a single meeting in person was ever even possible for this.
Rose and I have never met.
And you work more than a lot of people in the same office, right? That's also special. And we can say that this is a show because of who I am and because of my work and my network and because Vandana and I are both Indians, I think Rose's Indian awareness has gone through the roof in these 100 days.
I'm still trying to figure out that protest in Times
We
Square.
were talking about Ayodhya this morning.
But I have a ways to go on the ladder.
Yeah, but you've learned so much and you've taught us so much. Everyone needs to follow Women to Follow, hashtag Women to Follow, which is this thing that Rose started, a way to encourage inclusion of women, including by women themselves. Women were not following enough women. We have seen examples, even on the air. You remember this, that I would ask someone, who do you like to read or who do you recommend? And then they would recommend men's Twitter accounts.
Yeah.
And so you gave us 1,600 and more Twitter accounts to follow, and you can find the full list on our friend Stacey Katz's at Hey Kiddo account, at Hey Kiddo. But just look at the hashtag Women to Follow, and you will find all of Rose's great work. I know Vandana is on curfew because she has to go be with her family in a few minutes. So I wanted Vandana to talk about something fun's the wrong word, but unusual that happened. The first kind of field report on the COVID-19 show, she was in Times Square, and she found herself in the middle of a global story, including the center of, speaking of women on Twitter, what it's like to be a woman on Twitter when you are the focus of attention in a news story, right? You're obviously been a journalist, but this kind of attention that you got, I don't think you've ever gotten before. And most of it, some of it was positive, but a lot of it was negative.
Yeah, just a bit of background. I'm staying with my cousin's family in Brooklyn. I have a really adorable 4-year-old nephew who I can hear outside. But I was at Times Square to cover I was at Times Square to cover these billboards. Just a long story short, there was a Ram temple. There was a temple that was inaugurated in contested land in India, and a group of people decided to buy out huge, massive billboards in Times Square. But the issue with that is that the land on which the temple is being built was where a mosque stood, and that mosque was demolished by Hindu fundamentalists, and millions of people have died in violence since, in communal violence since. So as we can see on the screen, this was the billboard that was bought out massive above Hershey's. So I knew this was happening, and I knew that the ads were supposed to be running from 8 a.m. until 10 p.m. And so I just showed up and camped out at Times Square and met a bunch of people. A friend came down around lunchtime. We had a nice picnic. But then in the evening, these protests just kind of, and I was live tweeting the entire time. Which got quite a bit of traction on Twitter. And by evening, there were protests, and the protests were clashing. And I've just come out of almost total self-isolation. I spent a couple of months completely alone, and then suddenly I'm in the middle of New York City. We're in the middle of a pandemic, but there are hundreds of people. And it was just a very intense experience. And I got to call in on the show and report live. And as for attention on Twitter, I've been trolled before, but this has been, there's a particular brand of Indian trolling that happens by right-wing Hindu fundamentalists. You call them bhakts. And they kind of just descend on you if you have any opinion that's contrary to their opinion. And so one of the favorite things that they like to talk about is there's a anti-burn cream called Burn All in India. And so whenever someone says something, they always attack you and say, apply Burn All, you've been burnt. So I've been receiving a lot of that kind of stuff, a lot of misogynistic, sexist comments. It's been a bit overwhelming, but actually it's quite ridiculous.
And you were so brave to be there in the middle of the pandemic and be caught up in the middle of that. though of course, you were not in physical danger. Just being
No.
there during the pandemic was difficult, and you handled it so well. And our first live report, and
This
so
is my first live report as well. I don't think I've ever called in. I don't think I've ever gone live, or like I've only done videos like on post production and stuff. I don't think I've ever gone live from anywhere. So that was quite exciting.
and
Thank you for giving me that platform.
And you did a fabulous job. And so I know you need to go, so we'll let you go. Any message for as you're looking ahead the next 2-3 months? What are you hoping to work on, and what are you hoping that we do here as well?
Oh, that's a good question. For a couple of months, I wasn't sure what kind of future to envision, if we would ever have a post-pandemic future. But I think there's been a lot of global interconnectedness. I'm looking forward to like writing more, reporting a lot more on global flows, like the diaspora here in the US, people doing interesting work. And I know that a lot of our guests have complimented us on talking about issues that matter, but I don't think we're doing enough. I think we should be doing a lot more, and that's hopefully we can get people to talk about things that hopefully you can help bring attention to issues that need attention.
Well, I'm very grateful that you were introduced to us by our friend Rama Lakshmi, who's a fabulous journalist in India, and you had no idea what the heck you were getting into. But Rose and I are grateful to have you on our team, and thank you for being here. And go take care of your nephew, and welcome to New York. In the middle of all this, you moved from.
Oh yeah, I moved to New York.
So welcome to New York, and looking forward to seeing you in person one of these days. Bye, Vandana.
Bye.
All right, Rose. So I know there's someone else in your apartment, you're in your house, who's going to be joining us. So are we ready to bring him on?
I think where is he?
He's nodding vigorously backstage. So, let's remind everybody that in this show we do serious topics, we do fun topics, and one day we got to do a really fun topic about children's literature. And again, it was early in the pandemic. It was episode 37, and here we are 4 months later. Please welcome the children's writer and humorist, and Rose is the better half of this gentleman. Please welcome Alan Katz. Hi, Alan.
Well, hi. How are you?
Great to see you.
Congratulations on the 150th show. You don't look a day over 140.
We're all going to laugh a lot for the next. If I was, kind of very emotional the first half, now I'm ready to laugh a lot with Alan. Rose, tell us about Alan, because I didn't do a good enough job introducing him.
All right, I'm going to do this while she does. I don't want to hear a word of this.
I don't know. I think his comedy started at 7. I think he told me he wrote a parody of Jack and the Beanstalk when he was 7. So precocious, knew what he wanted, and told me he always wanted to write comedy. And I think he wrote comedy for an NBC show when he was 19, 20, something.
19. I was writing when I was in high school. I was writing for Henny Youngman and other stand-up comics.
How much did you get per joke?
I got $7 a joke, and I would send him 20 jokes, and he would circle 3 of them and send me a check for $21. And my parents would say, "How do you know he's not using the other 17?" And I'd say, "Look, he's buying from a 17-year-old. Leave him alone."
And how did you find him? How did you write to him? How did you?
I actually met him at a benefit, and I said, how do you get your jokes? And he said, he gave me his address. He gave me his phone number. He couldn't have been nicer.
Awesome. And tell us how your career developed.
Well, been writing comedy my whole life for corporate, for advertising, for television shows, including the Rosie O'Donnell Show, Saturday morning cartoons, game shows. I am proud to say I wrote the parody of Turn the Beat Around for I Can't Believe It's Not Butter. We made it Turn the Tub Around because they wanted people to turn the tub around and see the ingredients. So I wrote a song parody that I think the kids are more proud of than almost anything else. In fact, one of our kids keeps texting me. That's not good. So there we go. I'm sorry, it's one of your rotten kids. So no, there are rotten kids. But written for game shows and cartoons, and just wrote my 53rd children's book. as you well know.
That's awesome. And tell us about what's your 53rd?
The
53rd, that's incredible.
I know. Well, some of them won't be out for a while, but coming out soon, and you've probably seen it around the house. I'm proud to say I just got a copy. It's called The Liography of Amelia Earhart, the absolutely untrue, totally made up, 100% fake life story of the world's greatest aviator. And I wrote a liography of Babe Ruth and a liography of Thomas Edison also. It's an illustrated book for kids, a chapter book for early readers, and not a shred of truth about Amelia Earhart. It's based on the fact that she was an aviator, but nothing in here is true. It's designed to get kids to read, to laugh their heads off, and then go seek the real information about Amelia Earhart. The final 5 pages or so do have real facts, just so we don't leave kids totally in the dark. But they'll be coming out October 15th, and hopefully we'll do some more after that.
Very cool. And tell us, what was it like writing for the Rosie O'Donnell show? What did you do?
It was great. You were there every step of the way, Rose. But we did 195 shows a year. I was there for 5 years, and would take the train from Connecticut to New York City at 5:30 in the morning, show up at 7 o'clock having read 7 newspapers back in the day when there were newspapers. And I would write song parodies. I think I wrote 500 or 600 song parodies over the years for Rosie about everything in the news or things that were going on in her life or in celebrity life. And she sang them on the show at 10 that morning. And then the next day it was time to do it again. So just as you have newspaper experience where every day there was a newspaper, every day there was a live 1-hour show with great celebrities and all that. And it was a great experience. She was wonderful to me.
I can clearly see your being on the air is getting you lots of attention. People are texting you right now.
I told someone I was going to be on, and she's calling. I'm not taking calls during this appearance. It's not.
You thought it was a telethon, and you were taking calls.
Well, you know, when I was on show 37, I didn't really get the recognition out in the streets because I don't go out in the streets. Those who walk by
you like to go to the dollar store all the time.
Those who walk by the couch were able to say, "Hey, you're the guy from show 37." But
no,
I have to tell you, and Rose knows this. I've spent so much time on the couch during the quarantine that our son Nathan made a sign that said "couch operating hours" with a picture of the couch, and like 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. and 8 p.m. to 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. were the only time the couch was open, trying to get me off the couch. So that's my life right now.
So I want a question from both of you. Look, I like how I was able to
between us. Yeah.
I want to just ask both of you, or maybe Rose, do you think it's harder to do 150 of these episodes or write 53 books?
I don't know. He writes his books like in overnight. Like he'll say, I came up with we'd be standing on a line at the, at a pool, and he'd say, "Oh, I have a great idea for a book." And I'd say, "Now?" He'd say, "Yeah."
But you never know where a good idea is going to strike. I think the one book, which is actually dedicated to Rose, is a book that I did called Oops. It's 100 poems illustrated by Ed Koren, who you'll recognize his work from The New Yorker. And it's 100 poems. And Rose is a very gifted poet, a very gifted, serious poet. And I'm a guy who rhymes and uses funny words in a funny way sometimes. And that was the time where she was kind of like, "Really? You're doing a poetry book?" But it went well. And my poems are known and cherished by kids who haven't met me yet.
Well, it must be so much fun at your house.
It must be. Yeah, there was one poem. I don't know if I told this story on show 37, but nobody's going to go back to check. But I wrote a poem and I showed it to Rose, and she actually said, "Are they seriously paying you for that?"
I was at a CVS parking lot, and you called me and said, "I just want to read you the newest poem I did." And I said, and I did say that, but and now he says it at every book visit. Every school he tells them about how.
Would you like to hear this deep piece of literature? May I share it with you?
Yes.
please.
It's called the lollipop. Lick, 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 stick. After all those licks, what do you have left?
Stick.
Just the stick. And that was when Rose said, "Wait a minute, if that's poetry, I'm leaving the business."
Look what I found, the lollipop.
There you go.
Cold. I wouldn't recommend anybody eat this, but I just found it.
You see how I've inspired? Actually, the poet Kwame Alexander. Are you familiar with Kwame Alexander?
I'm sure Rose knows.
He's I think he's actually the poet. If he's not the poet laureate of America, he was recently.
The children's poet laureate, right? Or
poet laureate, I should say, yes.
Radio or blog.
And he just, I'm very proud to say, bought the right for of one of my poems for a compilation he's doing, teaching kids how to write poetry. So that was a very nice high point.
Yeah.
It's about teaching the meaning of an onomatopoeia, which you wouldn't think I know, but I actually do.
Well, I am so grateful to Rose for all the work that she's done. I said to Alan that we wouldn't have got to 150 episodes without Rose, and then he said, "Well, you wouldn't have got to 150 without Alan, because after all, he would have missed episode 37, and it would be only at 149 now." So he managed to get a good joke in even into that. So that's
I'm like an office building that doesn't have a 13th floor. You know, without 37, you'd be at 149 and you'd be celebrating tomorrow night.
But you know, I could have been like Trump and started at 14 or 50 and just start numbering from 51. That's what he did, as you know, with the first building that he built. He'd skip the first 10 floors because people would rather be on floor 38 than 28.
I never knew that.
Oh, really? Yeah, that's in the book. He talks about in one of the books.
He sounds like a great man.
Yes. Well, I have somebody laughing behind the stage off stage right now that I'm going to bring on, because this show has been really a family affair. Rose and I, we feel like family now. And since you brought Alan on, and I was so grateful to be able to say to Alan, thank you for supporting Rose through all of this. And she's been part of our Digimentors team. We're all learning together, and I see her excitement every time we work on a project. I'm so grateful to the family structure that makes that possible. And that's why I'm so glad Alan's here. And that's why also I want to bring onto the stage right now, onto the screen, my support and my wonderful wife, Rupa.
Hello.
Hi, Rupa.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. Great to see you.
And you.
You're surprised.
150. Can you imagine?
I don't know. We keep marking these dates, and I go back. Today I said, well, 125th. Oh, yeah, that was 25 days ago. Oh, that's like a month ago.
Almost a month ago.
I know Rupa has not met Alan, but the four of us have to have dinner one day, maybe
Someday soon.
We love that.
And Rupa, what has it been like to live with 150 shows? You did manage to exile me during the day for about 70 of them or 75 of them. That was smart of you.
Indeed, and now you've exiled me out of our bedroom, so there you go.
I was wondering where you were. I thought it was one of the kids' rooms.
No, this is the corner of our bedroom. This is a poster where I got to work on the Super Bowl when it was in New York and New Jersey. You remember a few years ago. And this is a painting by our daughter, Durga, which we love. And so we have that painting up there. And so this is my corner. I've been relegated into this so that Rupa and the kids can have the rest of the house. We don't live in the suburbs like you folks.
Well, I'm in the kitchen, and that's our garage door and our basement door over my shoulder. Because Rose is in her office, and our son David, who you may know does a show every night,
yes,
a Broadway show, was on. I didn't want to go into my office because he had Barry Manilow on.
Oh, wow.
and Melissa Manchester. And I said, I'm not going to interrupt that show to be on a different show. So,
this is not even the most important show at the Katz Horowitz household right now. Barry Manilow's next door. Let's take the camera over there and watch him.
Well, the nature of our lives.
We were doing a sound check, and we got to hear, David took a picture with Barry Manilow himself and the host
Amazing.
Don't share it. You just can't share it. But
Right. They've done also about 150
no,
shows.
more.
Sometimes they do 2 a day.
180.
And they've raised over $400,000 for the Actors Fund and for some other charities. They do quite amazing work. But we're grateful to you for doing a daily show, because every time Rose tells us what show number it is, when she says like it's 120 or 150 or 180, we know our car payment is due. Every 30 days. We can track. When we hit a milestone, we have a car payment due.
There you go.
So we thank you.
I know, Rose.
I love your background. Maybe you should do a podcast with that background, the white doors. It's the worst place in the house.
It's the only place that I could get a signal and not interrupt somebody else's show.
I know that very early in all this, Rupa and Rose put together a show about women to follow. Rupa, tell folks about the importance of that kind of work where you were all talking about networking and women stepping up. One of the things I loved about our previous 2 guests, Sunny and Oren, the confidence, the ability not to pretend to be humble. They just talked about their work, that confidence that comes from having achieved something. I think a lot of people are taught to kind of hold it back a little bit, and what we call imposter syndrome, especially women are affected by that. Rupa, talk about that work. I know you do so much work around those issues. She also tell people I don't have a book, but I have Rupa's book. It's in 2 languages, English and Mandarin. This is called Career Catapult, how to shake up the status quo and boost your professional trajectory. She's also my career coach, but I'm her worst client. So she has much better clients when she had her own consulting business that I took.
No, I love what you've done to prototype your career during quarantine. So no, you're doing great. But no, when you talk about networking, and that's what our session was about when we did it together, Rose. But I was reflecting on that today because I was on LinkedIn, and there's always about 10 invitations to connect from men, and there'll be 1 from a woman. I don't know whether women just, I don't know why it is we don't seem to be as proactive with connecting, because if you look at if somebody was searching for somebody to connect with as a female executive looking to do innovative work, I'd be the least threatening person to get connected with, right? So I do think that we do need to do more as women executives to reach out and be more proactive with our networking. And, we're doing better. I think there've been a slew of great books out there this past couple of years, and the whole effort around Me Too, I think, sort of got people to think more proactively about sort of standing up for, again, some of what corporate America or corporate any part of the world actually has done to women. So lots happening. This has been a time of reflection and action. So, more to come. Thank you for running that session, Rose.
No, it was a great pleasure. I had the chance to see you speak about leadership in Stanford.
Yeah.
To see you.
Seems like years ago, but it wasn't.
Very fierce. And she saw me in the front row. Of course, I always take notes because it's just like what I do. And she turned to me and said, "Don't quote me."
Rose does that at dinner too. She frequently takes notes. Yeah.
In our house, that happens. Rupa will say something and say, "Sree, don't tweet that," and I say, "Too late. It's already happened." So it's just very careful.
But just today, Rupa, Maureen Dowd wrote this piece about how the headline in the Times. I don't know that she wrote the headline, and I haven't read it yet. But the headline was something like, "It's going to be like a Miss America contest." As though, this will be the first time, a Democrat is picking a woman vice president. And then they went back tomorrow.
Oh, God.
But my God, and this is Maureen Dowd, who, should be, I don't know who wrote the headline. That's the thing. But I wrote a tweet about it and said, I'm going to name 3 women in the top echelons of media, media and newspapers. Can you name 3? And I think I did get a response from Gina Glantz of Gender Avenger. But, it's just incredible that this just keeps happening all the time.
No, I know, and it does get a little difficult. I was in a call the other day where it was one of the units that I was talking to, the group head, and 2 of her deputies were women, and the org chart comes up, and she said, I'm embarrassed about the fact that this page is all women. And I said, why? I never hear a man apologizing for having an all male org chart out there. And she said, no, I'm not embarrassed. She explained that it was just sort of most meetings that she's in, she does land up having to explain why she's got an all-female team. And I said, no, time for us to stop doing that. It should just be the norm. They are the best. If you have a team that's doing great, and doesn't matter who's on it, but often I don't find women on these charts. So time for us to be acting differently about these things, and time for women to stop apologizing, right? Yeah, lots of work to be done.
What I failed to say is, I guess, that Hillary Clinton responded to this controversy and said, well, what was I doing? When I was running for president, I chose a man.
Right.
Right. So how can you say this is the first male-female partnership in the Democratic Party?
Seriously, good Lord. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if anybody said it's going to roll at the Times, but maybe Sree will tell us tomorrow on the New York Times read-along.
The New York Times read-along, we'll find that out.
I know as a journalist, you write the story and it can go through, it used to go through more edits, but, there's somebody else usually writing a headline. So
it's there in the text of it's not just in the head, that Miss America stuff. I don't know. Obviously, she didn't write that, but it was certainly in the copy where she said the first male-female ticket. I want to say to Oren, we're so lucky that we married such wonderful women. I mean, not to Oren, sorry, to Alan. I'm sure Oren's also doing great, but to Alan, we're so lucky to have these partners in our lives, and they're both women who have done great on their own and helped other men and women to continue to do well, and that's been very important.
To be sure.
Yeah, and I think it's a great example for our children, including our sons, to see this. By the way, between us, we have one set of twins in each family, and so these are twin moms as well. Twin dads are not so impressive, but twin moms is impressive.
I don't know about your parent. My mother just kept saying every time she'd come visit when the boys were, babies, I just can't believe you have twins.
She didn't have to do too much, so she was okay. My parents almost fainted when they couldn't. They were in Austria when we called and said we had twins. This was before FaceTime and things like that. So they thought I was joking, and I said I would not joke about this. You think you're faking? Imagine me. But our twins are now 17, and your family has been great. Not just Rose, but and Alan being on the show, but you guys named the She's on Call show, which was a lot of fun too. Tell us that story, Rose.
Well, we were getting started, and I think on doing this show with 2 women doctors, and we were had kind of a memo going around of what possible names, and Sree asked myself and I guess. Asked me, what do you think? What do you think of these names? And I brought it up at the dinner table. And I think at that time in the pandemic, like all our kids were home, or just about, right? And they were all debating, because they're all kind of love to play with words. And but Alan came up with this. She's on call. So
one of the things I do is I name products and I name TV shows for networks. They'll send me a tape of the show, and I'll give them possible names for shows. So it's a challenge that I readily accepted.
And you knocked it out of the park. And tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern, everybody can see She's on Call, Sundays at 11. Look for it on Facebook and Twitter. Just find it, follow it. Tomorrow, Dr. Judith Chusid, who's a psychologist, and Carmen Simmons, who's a 4th-year medical student, will join Dr. Sujana Chandrasekhar and Marina Korean. And one of the producers of that show is Rose Horowitz. And the other show before that is the New York Times Read Along every Sunday, 8:30 to 10:15 a.m. for early risers. Elaine Sciolino, the former Paris bureau of the New York Times, has been based in Paris since 2002, will be our guest. Rupa is already past her bedtime. I know that, and so she's going to ask to leave. So we'll let Alan go as well. Thank you both. I want to ask each of you to predict or look ahead to the next 5 months. What do you see coming down the pike? Rupa, I'll ask you first, and then we'll go to Alan and say goodbye to two of you. Go ahead, Rupa. You're muted.
So I don't know about predictions. I think, I was saying that we know that the kids will be mostly studying out of home, right? That's one. And then there's a prayer, which is I'm hoping for a change in the government. And, my wishes are going up to the heavens. And I also think, we are, we're learning to be thoughtful about each other. I hope to see many more masks out. We've got to be wearing masks. We've got to save each other's lives. So those are the three that I see ahead.
I think 5 months from now, I'll probably be invited back on the show. But until then, I'll be watching and cheering along. David, on our son David's show tonight, the one he works on, Dr. John LePook, who's a CBS medical reporter, said that he didn't see things going back to normal, Broadway and Lincoln Center and everything coming back until this time next year. And it's my deepest wish that we find a way to do theater and then find a way to do television and find a way to get back to the arts, because the arts are so important. Within that, I echo Rupert's prayer for a new president come January 20th, I should say, and that election just goes smoothly and not, be complicated by mail or deceit the way we all expect it will. And just everybody stay healthy, stay keeping the masks, keep the distance. I do want to mention one thing that I'm not sure Rose ever shared with you, but I know you have a frequent contributor and fan, Jonathan Borstein.
Yeah.
We did some work and found out that his father was my orthopedist.
No.
And set my broken arm when I was 7. And I went on vacation for 3 weeks, and I had to have the cast on for 3 extra weeks.
Wow.
So I'm not blaming Jonathan, but he was probably on that vacation. And bringing up, his father, I think it was Maccabee Borstein, had a practice in Fresh Meadows, Queens. And hearing the name Borstein again just triggered all kinds of memories of childhood and of a broken arm. So
wow. We also found that Rose had Rose's father had worked at a time with our friend Peter Herford, and that Rose herself had done some work with Merv Block, who's one of Rupa's and my dearest friends and gurus. And so that's how small the world is. And we talked about Peter Herford and Rose's dad, who was a TV writer, television. He used to cover television. Alan writes for television. Her dad used to cover television. And this was the photo. This was one of the many moments that I'll never forget from this show, where we talked about this particular article, or this photo that you see here. That's Peter Herford in the back as Walter Cronkite gets the news that Kennedy's been shot. At that moment, he's going to turn that around and he's going to read that and say the president's been shot. And because he's saying that, Peter, who's at the wire, the wire is coming over the telex, so he's looking back to hear that while this is going on. This is just an incredible moment. And Peter was my teacher. And those are one of the things that we've been able to do on this show, is tie these moments together. And it's been an amazing ride. We couldn't have done it, Rose and I, without these two amazing folks. So we'll let them go.
Keep doing it. Thank you for having me tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Alan, where can people find your books? Alan, where can people find your books?
Any local bookstore. Let's support the independent bookstores, especially during this time. If their doors aren't open, you can call them and they'll bring it to your car in many cases. And, failing that, Amazon, but always support local bookstores and independent businesses would be a great way to do it.
Katz Books, right? Is your
AlanKatzBooks.com is my website, yes.
Excellent. And Rupa, where do people find you online?
You can find me at thecareercatapult.com or you can find me on Twitter. It's my best place is at Rupa Online. And of course on LinkedIn, connect up, especially if you're in the business world. Thank you.
And especially you're saying to women, business executives, connect, reach out, be more confident and participate. It's really important, men too, but that's one of the missions that you have, I know. So thank you very much to both.
Thank you again.
And we'll see you soon. Bye-bye. I'll see you really soon. Bye-bye. Rose, wow. That was a lot of fun. And we are lucky that we have them in our lives.
Yeah.
It's really cool. Let's look at, I thought we'd spend the rest of the time reading comments. And if you can stay, great. We'd love to have you because you're so great to share these moments with. You never told me about Dr. Borstein and Jonathan.
I'm not sure Jonathan wanted me to. So. There you go. So.
All right. Well,
I've never met him, but his name, of course, comes up in your show all the time, and my husband goes, "Borstein, how do you spell that?" And a few months into the show, I said, "Was your father a doctor?" And he said, "Well, yes, but it's confidential." So,
sorry, Jonathan. Sorry about that. Joe Appio is watching from Brooklyn. Joe, you come back. He was in Atlanta all this time. So Joe, we got to connect. That's awesome. And look, Steve Taylor's here. Kudos on 150 episodes. Our colleague at Digimentors, working on so many projects together, including the New York Times read along. Ron Thomas is watching at 5 a.m. in Dubai. It's now 6:30. I hope he's still watching. Ron is awesome. And he was one of those people who got a shout out from Sunny Slaughter, which is. But
also we discovered that what's her I'm sorry, I'm just blanking out, but her Twitter name is Zarina, but we had her on the show and she was a good friend. Ron Thomas was a good mentor to her.
Yeah, that's right. It was a very, very small world. Dr. Sujana Chandrasekhar of She's on Call is watching. Diane Stefani says, wow, 150th episode. Looking forward to hearing from Sunny Slaughter. This was earlier. One of the things, note to me, I need to go to our greetings earlier because people drop in and out and we need to greet them when they're there. Ashok says, congrats on your achievement. Really proud of being part of the program. Ashok's been here almost every single day. Mark has too. Glad to be here from Durham, North Carolina. And Neil Parekh, our newest colleague at Digimentors, is here as well. And he says, Ashok says, I'm sharing with my friends. Folks, in about 5 minutes, we're going to share the videos that people put together. If you would like to get a video on the air, you have a few minutes. I'll show you how you can do that right now. You go to flipgrid.com, FLIPGRID, and these are the videos, and we will play yours in just a few minutes. So flipgrid, FLIPGRID, and Sree Show, or use your QR code reader right now. Hold up your phone and go to that, and you'll be able to participate and leave a video for us. I don't think I actually called in the show, so here it is, sorry. So these are the videos we'll be playing in just a minute, and flipgrid.com, and here's a QR code that you can grab. Sree Show, flipgrid.com/Sree Show, or just use that QR code so that you can participate as well. Let's look at some of the other comments that have come in. Paula Kiger, our colleague, sends greetings from Tallahassee. Doug Levy from the San Francisco area was a guest on our show. So many great folks. Fernando Zeladon, feels like 150 days later. And Fernando, we still are planning an episode that we have to do together. And Jonathan was happy to see Oren and Sunny together. Oren was terrific. And so was Sunny. Neil says to Sunny, always great to see you and learn from you on shows like this, on the phone and in person. And remind me, Rose, have you been to India?
No.
All right. Well, you have had like a lifetime of Indian education being with us. And we hope you will get there one day. And we'd love to travel with you. Fernando says greetings from LA. And so many other comments. Stefan, our colleague, is also watching from Ramsey, New Jersey. Pradeep Singh watching from Seattle. Pradeep is awesome and a good friend. And Sujana says those positivity shows are very meaningful. We have another one tomorrow. Steve Petro is going to be with us, a great writer and an inspirer to me. And here are some of the people folks are tagging. This just great to see that. Macron also sent us a video and he's tagging people. Look at this. So nice when people do this. This is just great. Anna is watching and in Australia and still hanging in there. The global nature of the show is like one of the best parts of it.
Yeah.
We're so lucky.
I remember she was on some of our earliest shows, I think.
She was there. And perhaps the good thing the pandemic has done is open up correct, difficult conversations about race. It was the pandemic and George Floyd and everybody who stepped up. Look at this comment from Ashok. Rose, you gotta look. You gotta look up. My last 5 months have been quite difficult for me. I lost my wife on 15 February. So sorry. I'm okay and doing well now. Soon after the lockdown, in the second week of March, it was quite a difficult time for me, but I overcame with reading, listening to music, and cooking, writing too, connecting with people through the phone daily. My articles have been published in online magazine Countercurrents, have been part of your show almost daily. And that's just beautiful, Ashok. Thank you so much. So grateful. And here, Vandana is sharing those books that Sunny Slaughtered recommended, including How to Be Anti-Racist and also Begin Again by a book by Eddie Galad. I need to learn that pronunciation. And so many comments coming in here. Mark says, my friend Radha with Daybreaker did a book study with their community and used Ibrahim's book as a discussion tool. Daybreakers, do you know about this? Rose, these are daytime dancing parties. So something like 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., no alcohol, just music and dancing. In Manhattan, it started, and now it's a worldwide thing, and it's happening even during the pandemic. Jay Mundell says, congrats, Sree, best wishes. Jay is a dear friend who got stuck in India. He's a photographer, Indian-American photographer, got stuck in India. He went to India with Bill Clinton and others and got stuck there. Apollo says, sorry to be late. Welcome from Las Vegas. And he was a great show. You remember that, Rose? He was terrific.
Yeah, he's great. He always contributes in the comments, interesting things. And of course, Mark does too.
Yeah. And Mark says he's at both Sunny and Oren on his show. So he's able to get a lot of guests, and we're grateful to him. Shout out to Rupa. Without her support, none of this would have happened. True. And Neil's giving shout out to Dr. Janetta Cole, who Sunny Slaughtered mentioned her. And Alex is watching and says, happy 150th episode. All the very best for many more. Alex is a dear friend and former classmate. Neil says, Anna Pembroke, Pradeep, thanks for watching the show tonight. That is really great. And Apollo, congrats on the 150th. And Vandana is linking to Oren's URL, qlab.org. And so much happening. Neil says, our partners and kids are keys to our success. And Makrand is talking to Dr. Sujana. Apollo says, hello, Sunny. Happy to see you again. So these are still comments coming in. And Marilyn Zayford made it for the 150th. We have to have her on our show. Yes. She is, to me, she's the queen of Staten Island. And we need to hear, especially as the election's coming up, what's happening there. Yeah. So many great folks watching. And we're just so happy to everybody. Ashok says, learning is a lifelong process from cradle to the graveyard. Learning, unlearning, and relearning is quite important these days. And that was great. Paulo was talking about the great T-shirt that Sunny was wearing. It's handled, and just more and more comments coming in. Ron is still here. Look at that. I'm here, Ron. We love you. You're awesome. Thank you for all your support.
I remember, of course, it's Janine Truitt, Ron, who I was talking about, who, and in the course of the show, I know her from some workshop she did in Connecticut, and we've become friendly. And when we had her on the show, she talked about her I think, Ron, you tuned in, and I said, do you know Ron? And, so she said, yeah, he's one of my greatest mentors, and helped me found her business, which I think is called Talent Think Innovations.
Yeah, that was terrific. And here's Jonathan replying to us about our little faux pas. And he says, not a problem. I spent a good part of my life running to ex-patients of my father. Jonathan, you're an awesome man. And we have to have that Nutella cafe meal if that ever opens up. And Ron says, I walk 7 miles every morning and normally listen to Audible books. This 150th show has been an absolute treat. Love you guys. He walks 7 miles every day and posts the pictures on Facebook. Everybody, friend Ron Thomas, just so you can see his Dubai pictures. Every morning he posts these amazing pictures. First of all, that he walks. I hate him that he walks so much. And then he's able to post these photographs. He's just great. So check him out on Facebook. And Brian Schulman is here. Hey, Neil, always here to support. It's what we do. Mark says, I recently found my orthodontist is still living and his practice, though he is no longer practicing, but his kids are still running the practice. I'll never forget Dr. Zaytoon in Raleigh. And I have a funny story, Rose. I found my old orthodontist daughter connected with me. Dr. Howard Ruderman in Rego Park, Queens, was an amazing doctor. He had Archie comics, hundreds of them, so that the patients would keep quiet and read. And this was before the internet, before everything else. Those doctor's visits were long, lots of waiting time, but he was fantastic. Rupa, Neil's linking to Rupa's website and to Alan's website, and so many great comments coming in. And Jonathan, coincidentally, I posted a photograph of my father's father, who was also a surgeon, on my Facebook timeline earlier today. We need to find that photo and take a look at that one of these days. I'd love to do that. And there he is, Maccabee Borstein. His practice extended across the metro area. And Neil says to Alan, if you want to be invited back on the show, can you write some new material, please? And he's joking. One day we'll be so famous, Alan will write a liography about us. This was about Alan's liography series, which I love. And Apollo says, Rupa, women are subjected to such abuse online. It takes a pair of balls to be a woman online. It takes a pair to be a woman, period. But all minorities have such a challenge, and I promise to kick the women haters in the soft parts. Revere women. Thank you, Apollo, for all of that. Apollo came on our show about living under COVID in Vegas, but he also told us what it's like to be African American in India and in Bangladesh, which was stories that most people are not obviously used to learning. And so many great comments coming here. Hyperbowl says you guys are sweet, and it's just great that all of these comments are coming in. So thank you to everybody. Now, shall we play those videos, Rose?
I'd love to see them.
Yeah. So remember, you can still participate if you would like to submit a video. We'll take it all this week. If you submit a video, we'll play it on the air. Go to flipgrid.com. First of all, a great tool to learn about. flipgrid.com. It's a great way to source video clips, and you can go to flipgrid.com/Sree Show, and you will be able to join us as we, you'll be able to submit a video, and we'll play that for you later this week. We've got a whole week of shows celebrating our 150th anniversary. And so let's go in here and play one of the clips, or we'll start playing the clip. So you come in here. This is the code if you want to use flipgrid/Sree Show, or use this QR code and get to it. And let's see here. I'm just going to go in, and we're just going to play the videos in the order that came, or maybe because it's easier, we'll do it this way. At one point, we have had 11 videos submitted today, which is incredible.
Hello, Sree. Steve Taylor here in Philadelphia. I wanted to say congratulations on reaching your 150th show, and also perhaps smile for my commiserations on your having to do these 150 shows. Thank you so much for your constant inspiration and for all of the brilliant guests which you bring on to the show.
I just want to hear, that was Steve Taylor. I was just checking the playback speed. It seemed a little fast, right?
Yes.
Hey, Sree. Hey, everyone. Stefan here, Spin It Social. Hey, wow. Sree COVID-19 call number 150. Wow, where are we going with this, man? Here comes the fall, and who knows what's going to be. But one thing I do know for sure is that I've reconnected with nature, and I come out here to the celery farm in Allendale, and I go to the Ramapo Reservation in Ramapo, and I do my hikes, and I get out when I need to. When I need to, I just go. Like tonight, I needed to. And just so happens that this is the night we're going to hand in some flip grids to greet everyone and let everyone know that we're still together, fighting this thing together, making it through each day, each week, each month. And I hope everyone's taking care of themselves, and I urge everyone to get out more often.
Thank you so much. And here's, that's Stefan Kaplan, and here's one of our former guests, Andy Rivkin.
Hey there, Sree and gang. Happy 150th episode. It's an amazing achievement. It's great that you've been helping people connect from a distance. Keep it up. From Andy Revkin, the Earth Institute at Columbia University, but right now visiting my mother-in-law in her little village in far down East Maine. Be well, stay safe, and sane.
Thank you so much. And he played with Pete Seeger, and we played a clip of that.
My thoughts on 5 months of COVID-19 and coronavirus. I can't believe it. It's been 5 months since our daughter Emily's been going to school. 5 months since we've been going to an office, going to restaurants, movies, seeing friends. I don't really see much changing in the next 5 months. Emily's certainly not going to school. I've changed jobs. I'm now full-time with Digimentors, which I'm thrilled about that. But we're all still working from home. And that's not going to change. The big thing is the community that we've built up around this. And Sree, you've done an incredible job bringing us together on the Sree COVID-19 call and other projects. So thank you for that. And to everyone watching, just keep hanging in there and find things to do, find things to learn and grow. That's our best bet to survive. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Neil. That was great. And here comes Linda, our colleague, Linda Bernstein. So I should do a better job announcing these because there's no subtitles.
Hi, Sree. So congratulations on your 150th show. Here I am in the New York Berkshires, which you can see behind me. And I'm doing fine. I mean, this has been an amazing 5 months. Luckily, my family's been well. I've been well. I feel very blessed and privileged. And just thank you for all you've done.
Thank you, Linda. You're awesome. Everyone follow her at Wordwhacker. And here's Clara Turco. She was a guest very early.
Sree, congratulations on your 150th show. I can't believe it had been this long. I was extremely grateful and happy to be one of the first interviewees in a couple of the first ones. A lot has happened since. Everyone back then was blaming Italy and looking at what was going on. Since then, now the spotlight is in other countries as the US. It will be interesting to see what will happen in the next 5 months. We really don't know. We are expecting a second wave, and we shall see. And again, we're learning new ways of living, this new reality that is really strange. Congratulations again. Bye from Italy.
Thank you. Clara is awesome, and she was a guest. And here comes Paula Kiger, who's on our team from Tallahassee.
Hey, Sree. Hi, everybody. This is Paula Kiger from Tallahassee, Florida. We could not have predicted 5 months ago that we would be dealing not just with COVID, but with the after effects of George Floyd's murder. So I want to use this opportunity to give a shout out to Wither Souls Brewing in Austin and our local Ology for the Black is Beautiful collaboration, which many breweries around the nation are doing. And ours is being done in conjunction with raising money for a great cause and local dialogue. So I really think, not that any of us wished we were in this position, but now that we are, I commend everything that this collaboration is doing. I think it's an example of what the rest of us should emulate. Thank you, Sree, for being our guide through these tough 5 months. Predictions is, although some people will fail, we will all keep talking and keep trying, I hope. Bye, everybody.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And here comes Dr. Sujana Chandrasekhar. Tomorrow, she's on call.
Hi, Sree. Happy 150th episode. The last 5 months have really been interesting. It was exactly 5 months ago I did my last in-person trip to teach elsewhere. I was up at Syracuse's Department of Otolaryngology giving some talks. I got to visit with my son, who then completed his senior year at Syracuse undergrad at home via distance learning. By end of March, New York City shut down. We ran emergency clinics in the office for April. We've been back at work since May. In March, April, and May, I recorded a series of videos that are on my YouTube channel, Dr. Sujana, teaching people about COVID. In that same time, you had me on your show a couple of times. Thank you very much. You thought I wasn't half bad. Thank you very much. We started a show called She's on Call, which is a lot of fun every Sunday from 11 to noon Eastern Time. In the next 5 months, I wish everyone health and vaccine.
Health and vaccine. Thank you so much. And here's Apollo. Yay.
Hello, Sree. I'm wishing you great congratulations on your 150th show. I'm here with my kitty Gogo in Las Vegas, and we're speaking to you from the Strip. And thank you for having me on your show, and I look forward to seeing you again in New York.
Wow, thank you. Look at that. Las Vegas. Some people would, wow, look at that background. Thank you.
Be well, and may you have another 150, 300, 600, or 900 shows. Be well.
Oh my God, Apollo, what are you doing? We don't want 900 shows, but thank you so much. Macron Booth is next.
Congrats, Sree. Just so delighted to be part of this 150th show. I think I was there in some of the NY Times read-alongs, then the first COVID call and the 100th COVID call, and now the 150th. So this is so much learning, really, it's great learning. Coming to the Trump, I think Trump is going to win. I think he's going to win clearly. The reason being, I'm actually getting emails and the phone calls and the mail posts from both, from Democrat and from the Republicans, from Trump directly. But I have not received anything directly from Biden. But I have received a lot from, Ivanka Trump to Donald Trump to, and, they sound pretty good, so.
All right, so thank you, Macron, for your comment. It's a 1 minute limit, unfortunately.
Sree, you were doing a great job in terms of your coverage and things of that nature. I have definitely been pleased by the way that you have been covering the three crises that we're in the middle of. We know that there is a crisis in health with the pandemic and things of that nature, but you've also brought to the forefront the issues of the crisis in race relations and the crisis in economy and people's personal economy. So I definitely want to thank you for continuing to keep your eyes on these very important issues and doing a great job in your coverage of them. You are doing a great job, and I am definitely glad to call you a friend in the struggle and a friend in media. So I am definitely a supporter of yours, and I know that you and your friends are supporters of mine as well. I will continue to support your shows, and I know that you are continuing to support the various shows that I have on as well. These are very interesting times that we are in, and I know that all of us will continue to do the jobs that need to be done.
Thank you, Mark. And then it plays again the whole set. So that is just great to see how this all comes together. And thank you very much to Mark for being here, and to everybody who left a message. We're very grateful to you. I see that Rose has also joined us back. Rose, what was it like to hear all those messages? I know you were working on your computer in the meantime, but what was it like to hear these? These are friends. These have become friends of ours. Some of them are already friends, but they've become a family, and that's what's so touching about this.
Terrific. At some point, I started the show with 89% battery, but as you say, always be charging. I just ran out of battery. It said 1%, but I couldn't leave the show in the middle, so the computer did it for me. But I heard Stefan's and I heard Neil's, which is great. It's great to have Neil part of more of a part of our Digimentors team. And just met so many wonderful people that I'm now actually, I see them. They friended me on Facebook, like Helm and I'm not sure how to pronounce everyone's name, but that's been great, and the world is expanding.
Sure, it really is. And then we want to show the picture that Jonathan said he posted today about his father's father, who was a surgeon. So everyone remember the story that Rose's husband, when he was a kid, had his arm reset by Maccabee Borstein, who was the dad of our friend a dear friend Jonathan Borstein. And then Jonathan said that he had posted a picture earlier today of his grandfather in 1911. He's the surgeon in this picture. What a legacy. 3 generations doing great work, and 2 of them in the same field. But just 1911, his grandfather was already a surgeon. Just think about that. Many thanks to our friend Neil Parekh stepping in to produce. Once he joins us full time, he's going to be responsible for all of these productions, and so we're great that he's able to step in and produce like this, and it really does make a difference to add to the storytelling that we have on the show. It's getting late. It's 10:51. Rose always teases me for going too long, but today it's 10:51 for 2. We announced it as a 2-hour show just to make that point.
I said to him, "Are you sure you're going to go till 11?" He says, "Well, I know I will." So I said, "Okay." But Neil might have something to say about that when he comes.
Yeah, exactly. He might be cutting us short on some of these. Apollo says, I'm looking down in my video because my kitty crapped on him. It was also an opportunity to help my kitty with public spaces as we go to the airport. Oh, Apollo, that's so sweet. But we're glad that you're with us. And let's see. Apollo, Jonathan says that Ron Thomas's pictures from Dubai are always fantastic, which is great. And Mark has put in a plug for his orthodontist. Great that he did that. And he put in a photograph of his orthodontist there. And Neil says he was fighting the sun. I made a point to get outside. I haven't really seen Neil outside that office of his for all these days. So that's what happened. So everyone's responding to their own video and explaining. And Steve says, I was testing recording my Android phone and uploading it to Flipgrid as opposed to recording it within Flipgrid. It looks like Flipgrid somehow sped up the clip, and that's what happened. But Flipgrid videos, you can watch at different speeds if you want. But you saw how easy that is. So folks, anybody who's teaching a class or doing something where you want to collect videos, instead of having to edit them, you can give them up to 10 minutes. You pick the limit and allow people to comment and reply and all of that. You can do that inside Flipgrid. It's a free tool now owned by Microsoft. Teachers swear by it all over the world. So definitely check that out. And Neil also caught the 900 shows remark. Rose was probably fainting at the time.
What a great find to find that picture. I hadn't seen it on Jonathan's feed. It's incredible.
Yeah, it was great. And Robert says Apollo was standing on the Vegas skywalk between the MGM Grand and appropriately the New York Hotel. Bob Anthony at New York. Bob, our dear friend who's been on the show multiple times. And he knows Vegas because he goes to a lot of trade shows, including the Consumer Electronics Show. And he told us very early, I'm not going until there's a vaccine. And sure enough, CES has been canceled, not postponed, but canceled or made into virtual event anyway. And Neil says, thanks, Rose. Excited to be doing this full time with everyone. Apollo is still connecting with people. Jonathan says, EGAD, thank you. And that's the word. EGAD was a word I learned in Archie Comics. I think that's why he used that word. That was one of Jughead's favorite words. As soon as Jonathan Borstein mentioned the picture, I was looking for it. There were a lot of posts to scroll through, so he likes posting a lot, which is great. Apollo says, wow, Jonathan, surgery was a grisly business. See Simon Sharma and his one fiction novel. And by the way, speaking of women doctors, there was a story that I listened to about a female surgeon who in the old days, you had to, like, if you were doing amputations, you had to saw use the saw on the leg to amputate. And that she, because of her height and to get leverage, she would need a step stool. And that was considered like a problem. But it took that kind of, overcoming these problems for women in so many fields, including medicine. And that's why we love doing the show She's on Call. We both helped produce that show, and it's fantastic. 11 a.m. tomorrow. And Jonathan says, I was planning to tag Sree, Rose, and you once the show is over, after the link provided for more information. And Neil is already calculating our 900th show will be on August 28th, 2022. Let us pray that we're doing it because, Rose, you and I are making so much money from the show that we are doing it not because of the quarantine. Everything's back to normal and we have some kind of show, but not because we are still stuck in our bedrooms.
Well, maybe by then we'll have a very big advertiser.
There you go. And Mark says, I thought you were going for 1,000 as a pet lover. I was glad to get Kitty get some love. And Stefan said, tweeted out a great photo of you and our dear friend Ron Thomas, wishing that Facebook Live would allow us to share photos too. And maybe that's something in the future. So with that, I do want to do the one thing we do on this show, but I'm going to let you go. It's 11 o'clock. I know you have stuff you need to do. A big shout out to Rose. Give me your predictions, non-show predictions for the next 5 months.
I think we're still in stage one of this crisis. I mean, New York, Connecticut, and New York City and New Jersey, it shows the way that they approached this to work together, and that everything was coordinated in terms of closing things down and opening things up, and having the metrics to do that. And I hope that that is an example. I know that Cuomo just announced that New York City, all of New York schools can open, but of course each school and each district has to submit a plan of how they're going to do it. I just was in New York for the first time since the pandemic last week, and it looks it looks very different. It looks very different. So many stores are closed, and then the restaurants that are open, have this outside seating, and I happened to find like one where there was partitions between each seat. I don't know. So I think we will, just like Dr. LaPook predicted for Broadway. I think that it'll take a while for things to get to whatever normal, and I think this will change the way people work. There'll be a lot more working from home, a lot more flexibility, which will be a good thing, I think, for families in that way. But I think the problem is that in terms of education, kids do learn best, I think, in a school. I never wanted to homeschool my kids, so that remains to be seen how that's going to go for kids, not and that it doesn't further create more disparities with income and education.
Thank you, Rose, for, as always, doing such a great job, and for being here and being part of the family. I want to show this picture. We have Stefan Kaplan always helping out. Here's a picture he tweeted of me and Ron Thomas. And this was a photo taken in December of 2019. Ron and Stefan and Neil and all of us were together after we did a great read along with Stefan at the Museum of the City of New York. And we got to meet Ron in person, and he was just great. And I'm wearing a shirt that's kind of hard to tell right here, but that's a shirt of one of my favorite condiments in the world. It's called La Gan Ma, and it's a chili oil crisp that is just absolutely delicious, goes with everything. And I got that as a gift from our friend Andrew Lee and May Fong, his wonderful wife. May has been a guest on our show, but not yet Andrew. And that was a lot of fun that day. So thank you, Stefan, for sharing that. And Rose, we'll say goodnight to you. I still have the names to read. And thank you very much, Rose. You're awesome.
Right. Thank you very much. An honor. Thank you.
Thank you. And folks, I can't believe it, 150 episodes. I do want to show you this picture from yesterday's New York Times that captures where we are in the world. America, all alone amongst its peers in failing to contain the virus. Very important story by David Leonhardt. Looking at this, look at the United States, look at Europe, look at Canada, Australia, Japan, South Korea, 1,400 deaths in 5 months. The US had multiple weeks where we had 1,400 a day happening. And it's tragic at every level and really unacceptable. And this is what, when we started, we were at the very early days of the pandemic. It would be interesting to go back and look at the chart and see where we have ended up, where you saw the predictions that if people wear masks, we can save 70,000 lives in the next 5 months. Otherwise, we're going to hit 300,000 dead by the end of the year. So sad, so shocking, so pointless. The politicization, the fake news, the disinformation and misinformation that's been perpetuated at the top of the government to the federal government and at the municipal level. But this is, elections matter, and we want people to vote and participate as much as they can. Before we go, one of the things we do on this show, since we talked to Kimberly Crenshaw, asking her, how can we support those of us, how can we allies of the Black community, she said, say their names. And so we're going to do that right now, and we're going to say their names. This is the picture that I use on the left by Titus Kaffer from Time Magazine, a mother and her child. And on the right, a photo of young Larcinia Floyd with her son, George Floyd. She would die 2 years, almost to the day that he would be killed. And they're both buried in Houston. He, of course, was killed so tragically and unfairly and so frustratingly in Minneapolis. And everything that's come out of that has been so important these last few months. So let's say their names. The names on the cover of Time Magazine, these are not all their names. And as I read them, ask yourselves, how many of these stories can you name? You know many of them, but not all of them. The names are Trayvon Martin, Yvette Smith, Eric Garner, Michael Brown, Laquan McDonald, Tanisha Anderson, Akai Gurley, Tamir Rice, Jerame Reed, Natasha McKenna, Eric Harris, Walter Scott, Freddie Gray, William Chapman, Sandra Bland, Darius Scott, Samuel DuBose, Janet Wilson, Colin Rackmore, Alton Sterling, Philando Castile, Joseph Mann, Terrence Crutcher, Chad Robertson, Jordan Edwards, Aaron Bailey, Stefan Clark, Danny Ray Thomas, Antoine Rose, Botham Jean, Tatiana Jefferson, Michael Dean, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and George Floyd. And these are not all their names. And we're a separate list that we read occasionally of all the names of just the women who've been killed in police violence. But we say these names out of respect and asking, do you know their names? Do you know their stories? And how much there is for all of us to learn and how much there is for all of us to understand. And just happy to have all of you here. Cruel Nanny, which means cruel grandmother, says people should watch all the videos. They are informative. Thank you so much for saying that. Apollo says, amen, Rose, about education and disparities. Apollo says, may you get that big advertiser. I'll pray for it. But Jonathan says, the history of women in medicine is filled with tales like that. Apollo says, wear a bloody mask, period, and full stop. And Apollo says, thank you for saying their names. It means a lot that we're able to say them and that people appreciate us saying them. But we'll continue to do that. Thank you all for being here, our 150th show. We have lots of great shows coming up in the days ahead, including, of course, our Positivity Night on Sunday night. We would love to hear from you. Would love to collaborate. There's my email address. If you have an idea on how we can work together, either on this show or another, would you like your own show like this? We can help build one for you. And we can also help you do your virtual events, social and digital consulting. We do all of that at Digimentors. You can check out our website, digimentors.group, Group. And let's thank our sponsors once again. Muckrack Academy, Fundamentals of Social Media, free certification now available for everyone, mrac.co/social, mrac.co/social. More than 4,000 people have taken those classes, and we'd love to have you join as well. We are grateful also to our promotional partner, Nunbelievable, Divinely Delicious Cookies on a Mission. Each handcrafted cookie provides a meal to those in need. One cookie equals one meal. Please check this out and use the code 20% off SREE. You can sign up now, nonbelievable.com. Nonbelievable.com. Check it out. We are very grateful to them, and nonbelievable.com is the address. And we're also brought to you because of the promotional consideration from our friends at hotstar.com/US.
Hotstar Premiere Nights. Watch the year's biggest blockbusters streaming straight to your screen, exclusively on Hotstar.
Thank you, hotstar.com/US. And begin our morning at 8:30 a.m. sharp when we do the New York Times read-along. Elaine Sciolino is our guest. She's the former Paris bureau chief of the New York Times, based in France since 2002, a byline I love, and I'm just so grateful to be able to spend time with her. Many thanks to Neil, our executive producer, and the entire team who put that show online. And we're also going to have at 11 a.m., so that was at 8:30, at 11 a.m., join us for She's on Call with our dear friends, Dr. Sujana Chandrasekhar and Dr. Marina Kurian, and they will have two great guests on the show. So please join us for that show tomorrow at 11 a.m. And then at 9 p.m. Eastern, Sunday Night Positivity, and that's on this show. And we have lots of shows planned in the days ahead. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll see you soon. We'd love to talk to you about how we can work together. Please email me, send us speaker suggestions, guest suggestions